Okay. Anybody else do anything before bed?
Crying a little on the inside.
Nope.
I think I'm good.
Negative.
Okay. So, with a lot on your minds, everybody takes their leave to their room for the second night here in Falstock. It's probably about 8:30 or 9 o'clock by the time that ended, so it's a nice early night to get a full night's rest. And for the most part, as the evening progresses, everybody's going to get back their hit points, hit dice, any spells, which I don't think... Well, no, Karash. You had to expend one for Divine Smite. So, yeah. We do get spell slots back. Or one. Tessian. I need you to make a perception check with disadvantage.
Oh, shit.
Watch me kill it. 12. That's not bad.
Okay. It's hard to tell what time it is. But you know it's the middle of the night. It's almost pitch black in the moon, except for what little moonlight kind of leaks between the curtains of the window of your room. And you're stirred from sleep by what sounds like very quiet shuffling.
It's just
I mean, Desian's pretty much just going to, I don't know, throw the covers off and be like, "Who goes there?" And I don't know, he'll like ready a shocking grasp or something, I guess.
Okay. In the faint light of the room, you can make out what appears to be a humanoid in a dark cloak. You can barely see his face to begin with just from what the materials cover, and in this light, almost impossible to make out any distinct facial features other than the fact that he has a mouth. But he's coming towards your bed in somewhat of an imposing manner. He has no weapon drawn. And as you fling back the covers, he says, "Whoa, whoa, hold, friend, whoa." He's speaking pretty quietly still. "I just need a moment of your time, I promise." And you see him now pull back the hood of this cloak. And it's Gary, the guard from earlier.
Okay.
Gary!
And Tessian will lower his kind of hands, so, yeah.
Listen, I'm sorry for just, like, startling you. It wasn't really my intent, but I
Ship it.
yeah, there you go. A new pairing. It's been 2 minutes and already.
Oh, Mike, you're here for me when I need you most.
Mike is
Oh,
Tumblr
Gary,
personified.
you visited me. Matter of fact, I was just dreaming of you.
Oh, Tessian, I have the vapors. A nighttime meeting of two confidants. I did not expect it to go this way.
This is so cute. I'm dead now. Anyway.
Where the hell were we? He said, "Oh, that's right." He's kind of hesitating, and even as he's trying to talk to you, he seems like eager to explain why he's here. Like he realizes this is a weird situation. He's kind of put you on edge by sneaking into someone's room at night, but he's like, even as he struggles to find the words to explain his presence here, he's also like muttering under his breath, like, "I shouldn't even be here. I don't know what I'm doing." Look,
And Tessian will sort of like try to be like to try to calm him down. Tessian kind of senses that this is something he shouldn't be doing, and Tessian is very much he wants him to be doing something he shouldn't be doing, as in working against Thorogood, not some sort of fanfic. So I don't know if you want me to like. I don't know if you want like a diplomacy check or something, but Tessian's gonna try to be like, "No, it's fine, it's fine." He's gonna try to like settle him down, like make it like, "Oh no, it's totally cool. You're here. It's a good thing you're here." He's gonna try to like suss him out a little bit. I don't know.
He's gonna flip on the lava lamp and put a coin in the Magic Fingers bed.
It's
Let's
wrong,
get
but
it
it feels
on.
so
Yeah,
right.
play the Barry White.
is diplomacy even a thing in this edition? This is where I always get tripped up between the two.
Oh gosh.
No, it's
Persuasion.
persuasion, intimidation,
Yeah, that's right.
performance, and
Persuasion.
deception.
You can roll a persuasion check. Let's see how well you're able to soothe him.
Yeah, that's my 4th edition talking, so my bad. Persuasion.
I have
15.
15. You do notice that as you kind of talk him down a bit quietly, he does seem a little bit less jittery, but he's still very much on edge. it does seem like that moment helps him collect his thoughts a little bit better, but still, like, just in the moment of this conversation, his eyes are kind of darting about the room, and he still seems very much like someone who's expecting the worst. But he's kind of able to finally get his thoughts out, and he says, "Look, I had to come to you in secret. If this was ever found out, I'd probably be killed on the spot. I just know that what happened today was an aberration, that it makes me nervous, that normally Whitwer isn't about seeing things through to a logical conclusion. He usually likes to skip a few steps and go to whatever seems like is best at the moment, and then the hell with the consequences. So I don't have any way of telling you what he means to do with the offer you've presented him. I just know that if for some reason he senses something's up with it, or if he thinks it's too much trouble to be worth his while, that given your location here was dangerous."
And Tessin kind of nods, and he's like, "Well, considering that you got in here yourself, I appreciate the warning, friend. I'll admit this is certainly not typical of diplomatic relations. It definitely puts me at a little uncomfortable, to be honest. But thank you. Thank you for coming here, and thank you for letting me know."
My only suggestion would be to stay on guard. From keeping an eye on just the regular rotations and stuff, I'm supposed to be off my shift right now. I don't know of any plans to move on this location tonight. I'm not saying there's like an imminent threat, but at the very least, you should be prepared for anything. And I would think it wise, whether you're staying in the city or going elsewhere, not to remain here any longer than you have to tomorrow. Find a new location, in the city or out, wherever your business may take you. Even if the deal appears to go perfectly well, I have watched for too long now the manipulations that he will put people through. And you seemed like nice folk when you came there today. I was a little worried about your safety to begin with, and even though things went fine, my gut tells me that won't always be the case."
And Tessian kind of like puts a hand on his shoulder and is like, "Thank you. It's good people like you that help this whole system stay together. I suppose I should ask, though. I've been around a lot recently, diplomatic dealings and whatnot, and the way that you describe him, erratic and not in his right mind, would you say that he has always acted like this? Has it been something recent? Has it gotten worse? Would you describe it as something natural or not?"
He kind of thinks about it for a moment, and he says, "I've only been in his employ for a couple of years now, so I haven't seen him since the beginning of his time in the city, but in that span, I would say he's been relatively the same. If anything, the longer he's been in power, the more comfortable he's felt that the system that he has in place is working, that he can kind of push it to its extremes a little further. But I wouldn't say there were any erratic changes in him or things that happened overnight. He's always been much the same. But again, as time has gone on, he feels he can get away with just a little bit more. And he takes inches, not feet or miles. He takes every little bit of advantage he can get."
And Tessian's like, "Well, I appreciate you coming here, and I appreciate your advice and the warning. I'll remember this, Gary, and, well, if I'm ever in a position to benefit you, I will."
I appreciate the thoughts. It's funny you mentioned good people like me. That's I haven't thought of myself as a good person for a long time. Look, just be safe. I'm only one man. Most of the people under his employ have no conscience whatsoever. So I can't even make any promises for, like, currying favor with anybody on the inside. This knowledge is already too risky. If he found out again, I shudder to think. But if there is something else I can help with, I will try to do so the best I can. It will be very difficult with his eyes throughout the city, but I will do what I can. Just again, I hope this deal goes well. But once you've introduced yourself on the stage like this, either he's going to complete his business or decide that you're too important to keep in the city or something. Just, please, just do not remain in Falstock any longer than you have to.
Tessian nods, and he's like, duly noted, my friend. Now, get out of here before you get yourself into any more trouble.
I shall. And he kind of like pulls the hood back up, quietly slinks back out of the room, and closes the door. There's just that slight like click when it latches. And that's the last you hear of him.
Tessian is probably up for like another 30 minutes or so, continuing to dwell on yet another, like, this is yet another thing where he has to consider stuff. So he's just pondering.
It's been
He
a
does a
long
lot
night.
of pondering.
Yeah. Lots to ponder. The rest of the evening seems to go off without a hitch. You guys wake shortly after dawn, since you went to bed relatively early. It's pretty early the next morning, maybe 7:30 as most of you come to consciousness. Fully rested, even Tessium, despite the interruption. Got a good night's sleep still, despite the fact that you had a lot on your mind. You were able to get your full rest. Anything in particular you'd like to do in the morning?
Food.
That can be
Agreed.
arranged.
Always food.
Yes, good.
Is there coffee? Tessian
yes.
probably needs some coffee.
There's definitely coffee. This is a full-blown continental breakfast. You got shitty eggs. You got tiny boxes of cereal.
My
Did
personal
I have
favorite, those
fruit
weird
juice?
eggs that have cheese injected into them for some reason that you can get at some hotel. Oh.
Right.
Oh,
Barely
Sounds
crunchy
awful.
bacon. That's not entirely true. This is actually a pretty nice establishment, so there's a pretty good breakfast spread. But
I want to be drinking coffee with my mask like here, and sort of like
I'm gonna be watching you, just like, what?
that's all.
God, if I were any smarter a character, I would leave. The hell have I gotten myself into?
yeah, it's a shame the trap you put yourself in. This has been by far like the most Mike Can't Even episode we've had so far. We are only at like the 50-minute mark of this session, and Mike has already had his glasses off with his head in his hands at least 5 times. A relatively pleasant breakfast. The place is pretty quiet overall. There's a handful of other people who also appear to have been staying overnight, but it doesn't seem like the inn is especially busy. It also doesn't seem like it's abnormally quiet. It just seems like, for all the reasons you've seen to this point with the city itself and some of the surrounding areas, that travel through here is not as heavy as it may have once been. So the number of people staying overnight at the inn is reduced. Again, it's not like you're looking around, it's a ghost town, and you go, oh shit, like, they cleared the place out, they're going to bomb it or something. But it is like, it's quiet. You have the place mostly to yourself as you enjoy your breakfast. About 20 minutes pass as you guys are enjoying your food, and eventually, one of the guards that you saw posted yesterday, not Gary and not the guy who was gruff, but one of the ones that was in the courtyard that you saw around, comes in the front of the Gilded Ale House, says nothing, walks straight over to Tessian, and hands you an envelope.
And Tessian is sort of like, thank you, my friend. I was wondering when I'd get this. Good day to you.
And all he says is, yeah. He turns around and leaves.
And Tessian will open it casually, not like, he's not like
Yes.
freaking out here, but yeah, he'll open it and read it. I mean, what's it say?
That's how envelopes are opened.
Isaac is over his shoulder.
I'm also gonna get up and peek over your shoulder now that I've stopped watching you drink your coffee.
by the way, just as a point of order, I am in the same dress. I have to be because I don't want to make anyone suspicious, and so I'm still like dressed
Shoot,
up.
I should have been dressed up too. Can we pretend that I was dressed up?
Would you have stayed dressed up?
I mean,
If the
I
answer's
think
yes,
I was planning
then-
on
we
it.
were
Yeah,
under
and
the
I just forgot.
assumption that they were going to meet us, and we didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I would have dressed up again.
I had a convenient lie ready for if you guys got called on not being dressed up, but it is better that you be dressed up.
Good.
I had a
Yay.
feeling. But sure, you guys can be still dressed up. The dress is looking a little wrinkled.
Yeah,
But
and
it
I also
still
keep
looks-
like fumbling with it because it's getting in the way of my walking and stuff.
Sure.
So it's also getting
It
more
still looks good
wrinkled
overall.
that way.
It looks fine. Opening the envelope, it has anthrax, and inside,
And I are exposed too.
You're such a good DM, Chris. I love it.
I'm immune to disease. Score!
I was gonna say I need a lay on hands here because I'm in trouble.
the Anachroschism, aka Karash's adventure. Inside, you pull it out, and on what appears to be relatively nice stock paper, it folds out, and it says, "Dear Tessian, I find the parameters of your deal to be mostly acceptable, but there are a couple elements I might like to change. If you would, bring any relevant parties back to my manor this morning, and we can iron out something that's finalized." And it just says
Oh.
-W, and that's all the care he gave to his signature on it.
Ooh.
Okay.
And Tessin is like, well, this certainly looks like an execution, but I feel like I'm obligated to attend anyway.
What? Attend what?
And he's like, whatever this is, and he sort of waves the letter, and he's like, the man is either going to make a number of outrageous claims and try to get far more than he should ever get, to the point where no reasonable man would agree to it, so that he must turn me down and must punish me, or he doesn't even intend to play the game and will probably just kill me or kidnap me or whatever it is that he deems fit. I received a bit of a visitor last night. One of our friends from the estate.
Garrett.
And Tessin doesn't say whether it was somebody named Gary or not. He just kind of continues. He's just like, I was warned that, that Whitver shouldn't be trusted at all. And this only confirms that. He said that we shouldn't stay here a second night, if we do indeed stay in town. I think in this particular case, Isaac, I'm in agreement with you. We're going to have to move up our timetable. I don't think this man is stable enough to play any sort of game whatsoever.
I don't like this at all. It puts us in a very, very bad spot. We have to show.
And
Or
Tessin's
he'll
like,
find us.
I agree, man, and he's got some of my personal documents as well, so I'd like to retrieve those. But getting into and to him safely and armed is going to be a problem.
I have two things to say. The first one is, who is Isaac? That weird, right? Looking around.
Oh my goodness.
Stuart is my name, of course, but you know that. Secondly, I was born for this. What do we do? I'm ready for justice.
Secondly, I was born for this.
Perhaps
Does this
we
mean
could
we
move
need to go
to a
back to the
place where we
sewers?
can talk a little more freely,
That's a good idea.
such as the secret room.
Okay.
Sure, Tessin will grab his coffee and, I don't know, throw a few more eggs in his mouth, and then we can go to the back room. That is not secret. There's clearly a door there. Everyone can see it. But, yeah. We'll go to the back room.
There's number 6. Okay. You guys make your way round the corner, down the hall to the door at the end. Solid oak. Familiar by this point. You've been in and out of this place like 3 times now. And slip inside to have a more private conversation.
Oh, what to do? What to do?
I mean, there's the kidnapping idea that I talked to you about, Tessian. If you are kidnapped, you can't show.
And Tessian's like, that's true. However, Gary did indeed warn me that anything suspicious might prompt Thorogood to lose his cool even more than normal, and I'm concerned that might push him a little too far.
I know, but I'm concerned in general. I mean, you said it yourself. You feel like this is an execution letter. Like, I don't know. We would be walking to our deaths. It's suspicious no matter what.
And we're back to square one, and how do we get him out of the house?
That's what I'm saying.
And Tessian's like, well, the original plan was, or at least that I thought of, was to perhaps hold me hostage and see if we could convince him to come out maybe lightly guarded in order to retrieve me. Sort of a handoff of sorts. But honestly, I don't think he'd show. I think he'd rather let me rot or show up and kill all of us with as many guards as he could. So I don't know. I don't think that's going to work, but I'm certainly open to ideas.
If you wanted to just kill us, why didn't you just send soldiers here?
That's a very good point.
Well, it's easier to keep the peace if everything that shouldn't happen happens behind those walls. We're not behind them right now, so...
Yeah, but, I mean, everyone knows. Everyone's cowering in fear. They know what happens when you cross him. It's not like it's any secret, really.
Tessian's like, it's a secret from people like us that are just passing through. If we see it and we slip through the cracks, then it can become a problem. Keeping it behind the wall helps safeguard against that.
Tessian could be right, but it also makes you wonder if his home advantage is that much of an advantage. Does he lack the manpower to send all of his soldiers here to kill us all in broad daylight? And if he does, that's a good thing for us to know.
Tessian is like, are you suggesting that we try to split his forces somehow? Get them away from the estate? Perhaps? If he doesn't have enough manpower to guard both the estate and make a movement in the town at large, then forcing his hand at a movement in the town would diminish the men at the estate and leave him vulnerable.
Almost certainly. If we can draw his forces away and circumvent through the sewers, I like our odds a lot more.
What kind of lie could we cook up that would, or not, maybe not a lie, what could we do that would draw them away?
Ooh, set something on fire?
And Tessian is like, oddly enough, I agree with Karash in this particular instance. I don't know that fire is the right answer, but some form of natural disaster or monster attack, perhaps a dire wolf. We've certainly had some success with such a strategy before.
It's true.
We have.
If we could get the townsfolk involved, perhaps they could help us engineer something of the sort, something that would leave a fair amount of devastation without leaving any long-term damage for the town. They certainly know the place better than us.
I have not worn my mask a lot around town. At least not, if you ask me. Would it be of any interest to Thorogood if his guards heard that the infamous, world-renowned vigilante was visiting town?
And out for blood.
Tessian's like, as much as I like the idea, keep in mind the point is to get you into the estate to use your weapon on him.
Oh,
if we
just
have
a
you
rumor.
running around town, I mean, unless you're trying to say that you won't actually be running around town.
Yeah. We say, we start a rumor, and we burn some houses like Karash so wants to do, or something. And then we have the act and also the motive. Why, it's the vigilante striking in the corners of town. His deeds are so infamous now. Thorogood, I wouldn't be surprised if it sent his entire force.
I guess this is sort of a question for Chris here. Is the quote-unquote legend of the vigilante here enough to actually pull something like this off, or is this just somebody inflating their own legend here?
I am sort of joking, but I'm exaggerating, I hope.
Well, I guess the question is, like, if I've never heard of him before, is this even going to work? Oh my gosh, the vigilante! And it's going to be like, who? I've never heard of this vigilante guy.
Vigilante? Or the vigilante?
Is his name Vigilante? I was not quite clear.
All
Raph
legitimate
wants to know.
questions.
He really wants to know.
Right. In this area, no one, and I'm talking like not just this city, but the places you've been so far, no one has come up to Stuart or recognized him or been like, oh my God, the vigilante. When he's been around town, like he's been concealing his identity and whatnot, but people might still have an idea if they had heard. So your impression of it is, it's possible that word has spread some, and someone on Whitwer's level might be aware of it, but it's also not like every single person in town knows who that is. It's not going to be like you say the word and everybody in town goes, oh my God, because it's not even really meant to be that per se. That would almost attract too much attention. So the vigilante, while wanting to be like a symbol for the people, also doesn't want to be to the point where every single person knows him and he's mobbed on the streets when he's doing it, So like there's a fine line to it where there could be some possibilities for it, but it's also not going to be like everybody's knowledge of Whitwer, say. You say Whitwer, everybody in town is going to know who that is. You say the vigilante,
Cessian thinks, and he's like, well, what if we combined both of our plans? What if I get kidnapped by the vigilante? It certainly wouldn't be the first time he's kidnapped somebody of noble birth. And the ensuing fight happened to cause a fair amount of destruction? Perhaps something along those lines?
I'd like it. I think it could work.
Can we do that in the middle of the day without people, like, watching you run away with him?
Tessian's like, well, ideally the plan is that they do see him. Go with me for a second here. What if we approach the gate with a letter or something, or perhaps just us, and while we were there, in front of the guards, everything like that, we were assaulted by this vigilante, this madman. He managed to get a hold of me, hold me at gunpoint. We absconds with me to another part of the city, and in the ensuing fight, a few buildings are lit on fire, some destruction is had, enough to cause a fair amount of anarchy. Hopefully we can prevent any serious damage to anyone around. We may want to talk to the locals about this, but if we could cause enough of a commotion, make Thorogood think he was this close to having me within his grasp, and then I was ripped from him, that combined with the damage and everything else might be enough to get him to come out. And if not, even if he doesn't come out, Isaac and I could always just lay low, avoid the guards while the rest of you move in. Of course, that does ruin the gun. Someone else may need to wield it, but
we can all hide in the sewers.
If we need a decoy of sorts, I would be more than willing to disguise myself as Isaac. I do have those capabilities.
I guess Tessian is like, well, I suppose the vigilante is merely a person in a mask. It doesn't actually matter who wears it.
It also occurs to me, what if we were to bring you, my prisoner, to the sewer, to the entrance? A fight happens and flames go up, burning the place, and as far as anyone knows, we're trapped inside. In reality, we have used that cover to slip through the sewers and come out the other side while the guards are distracted. Could it work?
Like, I suspect that they would know that the entrance was there, would they not? Or was it hidden?
No, it's
okay.
it's been cordoned off so that it wouldn't overwhelm the area with smell, but also it wasn't
It's
being watched, so they assume people are not coming that way. But they know of its existence. It's
Okay.
not like,
All right.
what is this shed we've never looked into as a potential security risk?
Well, it's on fire now, so well.
Oh my god. So it may not be perceived as a threat, but it is a known quantity.
I suppose I
Sure.
like the plan, but how do we go from actually being on the edge of town to create the diversion to the entrance of the sewer in an appropriate enough time?
What if we have Grail disguised as you takes Tessian captive, and then you and anyone else is already in the sewer navigating to Whitver. How do you say his name? I've never said it before.
Whitwer Thoroughgood.
Whitver Thoroughgood. Yeah. Would that work?
I suppose, but it would be splitting our forces up, and if we're going for an assault, I don't know if I love that idea.
That is true. But if Grail and Tessian can pull off this abduction scenario, get to the sewer, and then navigate through and join up with us, could that work? And then the guards could be distracted by the chaos of the fire or whatever other destruction we cause, and then we can sneak in.
It could. I also wonder if maybe we're overthinking it. Just a fire on the edge of town, man. I'm inclined to agree with Karash. Maybe we just burn something.
Would soldiers? Oh, does Thorogood own anything besides his building in town that we could set on fire?
Oh.
Tessia nods in agreement that this is a good idea, but he doesn't actually know.
Yeah,
would
we
imagine
should definitely ask the
only-
locals.
How is it I'm the one who finally thought of that?
Well, I would imagine he
7.
only owns everything in this town. It's not a bad idea, Karash.
No, it's a good one. I was actually concerned about destroying other people's property, but if it's Whitwer's, I don't give a rat's ass.
I'm gonna volunteer to go talk to Gothak. And actually, is this the same city with the Temple of Palor in it?
Yes.
Oh, I'm gonna go talk to Gothak, and then I'm gonna go hit the temple, and I will come back and talk to you guys when I figure something out. How much time do we have before Tessie needs to show up?
There wasn't a. I mean, it was pretty much just a show up. So, I mean, if I can
Okay.
come up with a reasonable reason why I'm not, I don't know why it would matter too much.
Okay, so I'll be back here before noon to be sure.
Yeah, I believe it said this
Gonna-
morning.
It did say this morning,
But
so
it's very
Oh.
early still. It's like 7:30, and morning is
Okay,
till
I'll
11:59.
try to be back within like 2 hours then. I have
There
two
you go.
people to talk to. This shouldn't be too hard.
Well, yeah, Gothak's not too far from here, and the temple, while in the southeastern area, is also maybe a 10-15 minute walk, so it won't take you too long to hit both
Okay.
locations.
the only
I'm gonna
other-
do that.
The only other
Okay.
issue, Lena, is to this point, the only ones who know how to get through the sewer are myself and Karash, and so myself. So you'll need us to get through. You'll need me to get through the sewer quickly.
That's a good point.
He might not roll that poorly again.
Be better this time.
I'm just being. He could very well know it, but
Right.
Let's not hold our breaths.
so Karash is off on his own adventure, I guess. Is there anything we can do but wait?
I don't know, it makes me nervous just waiting here. I feel like we're just sitting ducks.
Yeah, feel free to not chase after me or anything, dicks.
you seem to have control of the situation.
I was stoked that I had an idea finally.
That's true. Nothing says you couldn't just accompany him, but that's up to you guys. You can stay there. Whatever works.
Lena, you went with Karash to the temple the first time.
Yes.
It might be good to accompany him. Just make sure he doesn't get in any trouble.
Okay. And I will take my leave.
Yeah, and Tessian is just like, and be careful. Watch your back.
Sure thing.
Along those lines, I think I'm going to maybe get up on the rooftops, do a little bit of surveillance. And I'm going to pull my mask down and say, nothing gets through my eyes of the falcon.
There it goes. There
Okay.
he goes.
So, with all that in mind, we will take a break here, with a plan being hatched, still in motion, still some particulars to decide, but Crash and Lena heading out to a couple locations, Stuart keeping watch, Tessian and Grail presumably going back to the burlesque if they can sneak away.
I was actually going to suggest that is exactly what we do. Tessian would actually say that we need to look like we have a reason to be occupied. Like, Grail, we need to look busy if we're going to show up late, and I can think of no better place to be busy than the burlesque.
The burlesque.
Busy at the burlesque.
Love it.
I mean, what if we need a legitimately solid alibi for like, oh yeah, sorry we're late. We were watching girls dance. Like, I feel like that's pretty reasonable.
Clearly, Tessian has never been there for the morning shows at a burlesque. Not the
Wait.
best choice.
But also, the people tending bar may have some good information for us in terms of any property that we might own or anything like that. So I think it might be a good place to start, to be honest.
Yep, I'm in your head. You're in my head. We're in the same head.
Good.
All right. Busy at the burlesque sounds like a bad Panic at the Disco tribute band.
Yes.
So, we'll take a break on that note. Our 5 party members seem to have a plan for each of themselves, and we'll see how that all plays out when we return.